Did you guys know that Two-Face has finally had his very own comic? Yeah, I'm talking about a bona fide Two-Face series here, with him as the main character. It's not a Batman comic featuring Two-Face, it's a Two-Face comic. It ran for 6 issues and wrapped up earlier this year. It featured the writing of Christian Ward and the penciling of Fabio Veras. If you hadn't heard about this series, I'm not surprised. There wasn't really much fanfare around it on DC's part, and I haven't really seen that many people talk about it either. It just kinda came and went. Of course, me being the hardcore Two-Face fan that I am, it naturally caught my attention. So let's just dive right into it, why don't we? What is this Two-Face series about? What's the plot here? Well, the premise is that Harvey Dent has managed to lock up his evil persona in a prison within his mind. So Harvey Dent is in complete control now, and the evil side, let's call him Scarvy like this comic does, is just along for the ride. So what's Harvey up to now that he's in control of his life again? Living a peaceful, quiet life, reunited with Gilda? Actually, I don't even know if Gilda is alive in this continuity. She died in the New 52, but I have no clue if that's still canon. Well, it doesn't matter anyway, because Harvey Dent doesn't seem to be interested in a normal, quiet life. He's busy trying to make Gotham a better place. And what better way to do that than acting as a lawyer once again? This is what Harvey is up to. He set up his own courthouse, called the White Church, where he puts on underground trials for the underworld. Harvey is still socializing with the criminals of Gotham, actually pretending to be Scarvy, pretending to be Two-Face. No one knows that it's crusading Harvey Dent in charge, and not the supervillain they used to pal around with. Harvey uses the White Church trials to settle disputes between the crooks of Gotham, de-escalating what otherwise could have turned into deadly conflicts. This way he figures he can once again use his legal skills to help Gotham, like he once used to do as the DA. And everything is going fine too. Until a secret organization called the Shadow Hand starts to meddle with his efforts. Clearly they don't like what he's up to and wants it to stop. Well, surprise, surprise, turns out the leader of the Shadow Hand is Scarvy. Big shock, whoever could have guessed that? Well, turns out Scarvy wasn't as locked up in his mind as Harvey thought. He's been secretly conspiring behind his back too, attempting to undo his work, and of course to gain full control of their shared body. So that's the premise of this Two-Face series. Now what did I think about it? Well, it really pains me to say it, but it's kinda meh. That's right, Two-Face's first series is pretty underwhelming. On paper, it sounds great. Well, maybe not the whole Shadow Hand and scheming Scarvy part. I wish we could get past Harvey and Scarvy feuding. It's been done to death. How many times hasn't Harvey's secret nemesis been revealed to be Scarvy? The animated series already did it in the 90s with the episode Second Chance. In this series, it was supposed to be a shocking twist, but I clocked it pretty early on. After being around for over 80 years, I think Two-Face is allowed a little character development. I'm not saying get rid of Scarvy, heaven forbid, just have him and Harvey reluctantly unite. That would be a nice change of pace. Judging by the way this series ends, that's not gonna happen anytime soon though. Spoiler alert! Scarvy does indeed take full control of the body, and Harvey ends up locked up in their mind instead. Scarvy then declares his intentions to hurt Gotham. So yeah, it looks like we're back to standard Two-Face shenanigans. This is pretty much the last thing I wanted. Back to square one, once again. The whole underworld trials thing is a great use for Two-Face though. It can work for both Harvey and Scarvy. But I don't know, I don't think it was pull off that well in this comic. I can't really put my finger on why. I mean, the first case we get is Harvey trying to prove Victor Zsasz innocent of a murder. I mean, that sounds great, right? But it's just kinda It's not bad, but not really super engaging. That sums up this whole comic really well. Not bad, but not super engaging. This comic presents a lot of very interesting Two-Face ideas. It goes into his origin and childhood, and his abusive alcoholic dad is there as usual, but we get to see a bit more of him. And for pretty much the first time, we get to meet Harvey's mother. We've barely ever seen her before. She's depicted as a passive observer. She saw what the father was doing to Harvey, but didn't really do anything about it. She herself treated Harvey well, but because of her passiveness, he has conflicted feelings about her. Another interesting idea this comic puts forth is pain being a trigger for Scarvy. Physical pain triggers him to come out. After all, it was when the father beat Harvey that Scarvy began to show up in the first place. And it was when Sal Maroni threw burning acid in his face that Scarvy was truly released. The comic uses this idea really well in one scene when Harvey is trying to save someone from Zsasz, but the lawyer doesn't really stand a chance against a psycho killer in a fistfight. But Scarvy does, and as their shared skin gets sliced by Zsasz's knife, he comes out roaring. Another really interesting idea is Scarvy getting locked up in Harvey's mind and Harvey pretending to be him in front of the Gotham underworld. But that's not something this series came up with, so we can't really give Christian Ward credit for that. Ram V introduced that idea in his Detective Comics run, which I suppose the series is a sort of follow-up to. This series also tries to give Two-Face a supporting cast, which I don't think it really succeeds in. Like I said earlier, Gilda is nowhere to be seen. Instead, we get a sort of daughter figure for Harvey in a Two-Face fangirl named Lake Cantwell. She admires Two-Face and wanna join up with his gang, which he allows her to do. So she becomes sort of his assistant and sidekick. It's very similar to the Victor character in the Penguin show. That show came out as this series was being written, so I don't know if there's influence there or not. Either way, Victor is far superior to Lake. She's just a pretty generic and flat character with very little personality. The comic does try to flesh out her backstory a little bit though. Besides her, we also get Judge Reaper and Gavel, Harvey's courtroom team. I assume this is supposed to be the old villain the Reaper from Batman Year 2, the forgotten sequel to Batman Year 1. I'm not sure though, because the comic never clarifies it. Either way, he serves as the judge in Harvey's trials. Gavel is a new character, a big guy with a gavel for a hand who acts as the bailiff and muscle. Neither of these two characters are very interesting though and have very little personality. They do look cool though. Another character is a young woman called Die because she throws dice. She works for the Shadow Hand, in other words for Scarvy. In another shocking twist, she's revealed to be Two-Face's daughter. Well, she claims to be at least, they never really clarify it. She wants to help Scarvy take control again and don't seem to like Harvey very much. I basically see Lake and Die as a different take on Sugar and Spice, the good and evil gals who follow Two-Face around, but this time they aren't his girlfriends, they're his daughters. Die isn't really interesting either. I mean, we don't find out much about her anyway. She says Two-Face is her dad, Scarvy specifically, and wants to help him do evil. That's about it. So yeah, the only interesting character here is Two-Face himself, but that's not really enough for a series. Batman shows up too, but it's only for a couple pages and he does absolutely nothing, so it was completely pointless. Baby Doll from the animated series shows up in issue 3, being manipulated by Scarvy to play into his scheme. While it was fun to see her, that too was kinda pointless. I will say that Zsasz is written really well here. He believes he becomes one with the people he kills when he carves their tally mark into his flesh. He even talks to his tallies and hallucinates that they talk back to him. Well, to wrap this video up, if you want to read a great modern Two-Face, read Ram V's Detective Comics run instead. It does a lot of the same stuff as this series did, but better. And if you want to read a better Two-Face written by Christian Ward, read Batman City of Madness. He has a big part in that story, and it's far superior to this series. If you want a modern story with Two-Face as the main villain, I suggest reading Batman and Robin Year One. He's not that deep in that series, but he's a very cool and badass antagonist. So yeah, there's lots of good Two-Face stuff in recent comics. This series just ain't it, unfortunately. If you're a massive Two-Face fan like me though, you have to read it regardless, if for nothing else, but for its historical importance, being Harvey's very first ever solo series.